Welcome to
Coffee with Hobbies.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Let's do this!
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching, listening to, or just hanging out here or around the world. I hope you're having a great evening. I am, because we're about to have a good time. Before I introduce my guests for the night, the gentlemen who have agreed to join me in this episode 7 of The Drop, I do want to give a couple of shout outs. First, EasyCo Mac for making the logos, and Aether for getting our overlays put together for the show. Big shout out to those guys. And if you're looking for the Dropcast, a lot of our users like to listen to us on iTunes or on a podcast format. You can find us on iTunes at The Dropcast. You can find us on Podbean at thedropcast.podbean.com, or you can just basically Google us on almost any Stitcher sites like that. You can also find us on YouTube at 5 Midas Gaming if you choose to watch the video because you enjoy my ugly mug as much as my wife does. That said, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of the show. I'm going to introduce our guests here, starting just above me and working my way around the circle. So our first guest tonight is not a stranger to the show. You've probably heard of him or seen him around. Some say lying just outside of the blue circle. Some say smashing heads. It's hard to tell because it's RaptorDaRaptor of Tiger Mafia. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again. I always like this. It's always a fun evening, and it's 5 a.m.
Nice.
And it's been a long day.
So for you, it's a fun morning, but we're going to try to make it entertaining so you can have a good memory before you lay down to go to sleep. Instead of having a hard loss and sleeping and dreaming about all the failures or the misses, instead we'll laugh and have a good time and then dream about all the fun jokes that were had. And the man I expect to make a couple of jokes or at least make the best hair plays at some point in this game is none other than a man named DefineLegit, coming to us from Ghost Gaming, who I believe was a team that was third place at IEM Oakland. So congratulations on that, by the way. A man who I've also killed in a squad pub match, so I felt pretty good about that too. Define, how you doing today? Oh, wait a minute. I think he's muted. I think you're muted. Unmute. Evasive action.
Okay, there we go.
There we
Somehow
go.
I got muted.
That'll happen.
There we go. I'm good. I don't remember my death to you, but I'm sure it happened.
It was the beginning of last season. You guys were grinding. I saw a bunch of kills, and I started screaming, "Holy shit, it's Ghost!" Hunker down. And then it ended up being 3 versus 3, and I managed to get the kill and was pretty happy with myself. Because, it's not often us casters get to kill pros, right? Like, it's pretty rare. So I felt pretty good about that.
I feel that.
In all fairness, you were hopping like a rabbit trying to get out of the blue, and I was just taking pot shots, but I'm counting it. I'm counting it. It wasn't a one-on-one spray down. That's going to be next week. All right,
Okay.
and last but not
Next
least,
week, I got you.
Hey, I made the top 50 today, so I'm going to keep on grinding. That said, let's talk to our last guest, the man sitting down there, the Patriot. Some of us choose to have cat toys behind us. Some of us choose to have America, and that is none other than Viiral from Turtle Squad. Viiral, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Really happy to be here.
Glad to have you. Thanks for jumping at the last minute. We had a cancellation, and Ryan was Johnny on the spot. Was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's get on. Let's talk about 1.0. And I heard you actually got to do a little bit of scrimming tonight to test out some competitive play on the new map for the first time. So I'm excited to sort of hear how that went. I think you got to do a couple as well, legit. I don't know if you've had a chance yet, Raptor. That said, I think we all have some pretty strong feelings about where this map is going to be taking us or what we need to do to get us to that point. That said, that's our focus for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You're used to coming here and getting a bunch of topics. We're going to talk about a lot of topics, but all under the banner of 1.0. The launch happened last night. It was only 1 hour late. Rubber banding was minimal. Honestly, I thought everything besides the fact that I have to stare at a field of grass at a Dacia for 5 minutes between every match, it went really, really smoothly. Better than any launch I've ever been a part of. So for that, kudos to PUBG Inc. because I've been you guys have all probably been through a lot of launches before, and I mean,
man.
I remember the days of like World of Warcraft where it was like you stayed up all night and then played the next day, right? Because like you couldn't even log in. So this was awesome.
I mean more recently, just to give a comparison, because I come from H1, the developers are light and day. Like
Oh yeah.
H1 would take 8 hours to go down, and then there wouldn't be much actually fixed, and then PUBG takes, this was the longest time they've ever been down for 1.0, and I think it was their biggest patch, and I mean, it went flawlessly. Like you said, there were a few games that rubber banded, but the rest was just, it was perfect.
Absolutely.
Worth it for what they brought to that update. 100% worth it.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I also want to say I was impressed because I've seen this happen, like you said, with H1 and other games. And it's like a quiet 8 hours, right? There may be some extensions and stuff. That whole time,
Right.
they were giving us stuff to talk about. They were giving us patch notes. They were keeping us updated. They let us know what was going on. And the thing I think I like the most is that every time that they tweet, they say players before they say anything else. So I think that shows that they kind of respect the community and the fact that we're just here to play the game. So very, very cool. Enough verbal blowjobs here for PUBG Inc. But a great release. Congratulations, guys. You did really killed that as far as I was concerned. All right, let's talk about 1.0. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start out with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good is our favorite change. I want to go around and find one thing from each of you that you're like, this is it. This is the best thing that happened in 1.0. Then I want to hear about something you don't like, not something that you think is like a tragedy, but you're like, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. And then we'll go back around and we'll see what needs to be changed right now. And I'm going to guess I know probably what a couple you're going to say, but we'll wait till we get there. So let's start with the positive, because you should always do the positive first, I think. I don't know the rules. But anyway, the good. Raptor, what's your favorite change in this patch?
Graphics FPS, 100%. Graphics FPS easy. Like the last game felt like an alpha, like a beta game. Now it just feels like you're actually playing a game. Like you're actually playing a game that is like developed by a proper developer, and the FPS is just smooth. Like yeah, we still have some rubber banding, but it just feels like a fun game. Like it's decent now. That's all I can say. FPS and graphics, I love it.
Absolutely. Okay, a good answer. Let's move to legit. What do you think?
I mean, I'm with Raptor. FPS is a lot better, but honestly, what stands out to me and what I think will stand out as time goes on is the variation in what they've done with an open field. So as much as an open field looks open right now, there's only a few of them that are truly dead space, where if somebody catches you there, you're done if you don't have a vehicle. More of the areas have these little divots and little ridges and random bowls, and all of a sudden it's if you prone in this spot where they're at, they actually can't see you. Now you're completely pinned down, but it's not that dead space that we've had in Erangel. So that, in my opinion, is what's going to shine for me, and then in the future. And then, of course, like Raptor saying, everything is running so smoothly.
Absolutely.
I can look past all of the rubber banding and stuff. I've heard they're working on coding, and they want to recode some of the game engine itself. And so coming from H1, where H1 tried to do the same battle royale thing, 100 people, what's happening is it's 100 people on a map, and everyone's having to go through an action at the same time. And so no one's ever done that before.
Right.
So, I have faith. They'll get the coding down. It'll get better. The rubber banding going from test to here is a lot better too. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and I got
a lot of positives.
I got a simple solution. If you don't like rubber bands, don't drop what's it called? Mikado, right?
Don't
Like,
hot drop.
Don't go to Patron. Take a little bit of a flight, grab a car, and you won't rubber band at all. So it is what it is. I respect people who like to fight Mikado as a wrestling ring. It's neat, but expect rubber bands. That said, I agree with you. I think it looks the landscape is just awesome, right? And I think we knew this was coming.
It is.
The way that they changed that dead space outside of Mansion in Evangel with the forest in 1.0 is, I think, shows what they were sort of trying to accomplish with the idea that there is no more Pachinki field. So that's pretty cool. Ryan, what is your favorite change to come out of this bad boy?
Optimization for sure. The better FPS just makes gunfights so much more smooth. But I actually really like the ballistics change. Like the AK, the revamp on the AK. It makes it viable and makes teams want to actually use it now, so it's not 4 people with a 5.5 gun trying to split ammo. So it gives you a little more opportunity. And the new sights, 8 times, 4 times, phenomenal. And it feels more like Arma sniping, like realistic, as opposed to just kind of eyeballing it for what it used to be.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan a lot. I think past 300 meters now, it takes some real skill to laser beam players. Like you've got to really understand the drag and the drop, or you have to, adjust your play and start zeroing in quickly.
Yeah. And that's definitely hard when you're getting shot at too. So when you get these
Absolutely.
fast Car 98 shots and stuff that are really, tide turners in a battle, like I appreciate when I see those downs on the screen so much more.
Now, you brought up the changes to the AK. So real quick for the viewers here who maybe aren't up on the AK philosophy, just give us a quick breakdown. What's changed? What makes it feel better?
I mean, in 1.0, I've never really done research on spray patterns or
Right,
anything. But in the AK in 1.0 was so awful with spray. It was uncontrollable to a point of anything past a certain meter. You had to have a comp on it. That was like the golden standard. But now, you can pick one up and you can fight with it. You can land some shots with it. The single tapping feels better to me. But again, guns are a personal opinion thing.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely fixed some of the recoil and I don't know if they've changed the pattern, but the bounce and the kick has been reverted more so back before the patch that ruined the AK and made it useless at long distance.
Yeah.
The AK, the spray pattern, because I've been playing the entire day right now, and I'm a guy who likes to tap, but right now the only thing I've been doing is just spraying. With the AK, you can go 200 meters, you can still spray, you can still like control the spray. Feels more like CS:GO, where you have an AK and it takes a lot of stuff to control the spray at a longer distance, but if you really try, you actually get some stuff done with it. Before, do 100 meters and have your automatic on and you're gonna miss half of your bullets at least.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the spray is just amazing right now.
Absolutely. And again, for those of you who maybe are watching as, I don't want to say casual players, but less professional players, remember a big advantage to the AK is if you crouch before you shoot, it increases your accuracy significantly. So practice the C-tap. I know it's something we all struggle with, but a little tip for you to take home with you. That said, so the AK has got a good change. We can all agree the FPS is better. You guys scrimmed today. I heard that a lot of the car lag is completely gone. Is there truth to that? Or did it feel a lot better?
Oh shit! You know what? The moment you said that, there was zero fucking car lag, and I haven't even heard if they've completely redone, because I don't remember. I think IEM, someone was telling me that they had 8 developers completely recoding the cars.
Makes sense.
So I don't know if that's successful and it's done now, but looking back on it, when there was 50 up, Circle was probably 3rd or 4th. People were transitioning. I don't remember much car lag. So we didn't run the Aaron Gall game, so I don't know if you guys had it there.
I had it on Miramar. I think I dropped to like 60 frames, but considering I used to run it like 80 frames, 60 frames wasn't a terrible drop compared to like the 12 I used to go down to. So it's definitely a good foot forward, but I don't think it's completely eliminated. But again, it's day one of 1.0. I don't expect miracles.
Yeah. We're on track for car lag to being a city in the Star Wars universe, not something we have to deal with on a regular basis. So that's pretty exciting. I think it shows just sort of a lot of people have complained, and I've listened. I've heard you guys complaining. I read Reddit. I see Twitter about, fix the game, fix the game, fix the game. My favorite part, I think I played 7 hours today, was playing. I do all pubs, and every pub I played with, a lot of them would be like, man, I never played the test server. This game is just, they need to fix it. And they play like 2 games and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're like, that's why they haven't been fixing the live server, man. They were doing this. So optimization looks good. I'm really hyped about that. So cool. So that seems like that's the biggest takeaway, is we're all playing in a way that it feels smoother, cleaner. Even just the movement around the map feels less jerky. I don't know. It's just everything feels more comfortable. Like I'm playing Tomb Raider instead of, some sort of like third, non-AAA title. So very, very cool. All right. So that is the good. Let's talk about the bad. This isn't the thing that needs to get fixed immediately because it's breaking the game. This is the thing that you're still not sure how you feel about it. You're still like, I don't know yet. We're going to go backwards in reverse. So we'll start with Viiral, and I'm going to say it slowly so he has a second to think, because he looks like he might need it.
And this isn't to be completely negative towards them, is I actually don't like the map. Like DefineLegit said about the, I guess I'll tell you specifically. DefineLegit said about the dead space, it hit that well. I think some of the buildings go too far up as opposed to, trying to make it competitive. Especially like when there's a 5-story building with one staircase. How am I supposed to push that as a team? They have a full range of view on my approach there, and then I have to fight on one staircase. And at this level of play, you can defend a staircase, so it's very difficult for some teams. So I wish they would bring it from a 5-story to maybe 3-story, 2-story max.
Okay.
I agree and I disagree.
Okay.
I mean,
Tell me more.
it's all everything's about decision making. Step one, do you have to push that team? Step two, is there a line of sight that you can take? I promise you, there's a line of sight on a 5-story building that you can take and successfully get to that building without them killing you.
Yeah.
So it's like to me, it's them putting another layer into the game. It's another variable that we have to worry about. We have to change up our play. We might have to South George. If you controlled apartments, which was a 3-story building or whatever, if you controlled that, you controlled back 6. You kind of understood where everything was, and it was very simple. Now it's another layer to where I can be on the 4th floor, the 5th floor, and there's not just 1 or 2 4th or 5th floors. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. So you have to be more methodical in your approach to things. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see people getting punished more. And I don't want people, when they get punished, to be like, the map is shit.
Right.
I
Right.
want it to be more so like, damn, I moved too quick. I got caught in the open. That wasn't the correct line of sight.
Makes sense.
I agree. I agree to an extent. I don't know if they put in the same amount of thought that they did in Erangel in terms of placing buildings and making it competitive. I think we're going to need more time on it. But generally, I think just from the 150 hours I've played, you can line of sight those buildings pretty easily.
Yeah.
It just depends on like your timing and a ton of decision.
Right.
Right.
I honestly don't think it's the height or like necessarily the building. It's just like everything is too tight. Like the hallways are too tight, and the problem isn't necessarily the buildings. The problem is just the combinations between how the game works and the buildings. Because when you stand too close to a wall or too close to a door opening, your gun goes down, so you can't shoot a guy. You can't just peek and shoot like in CS:GO. And if they would have something like that, yeah, then sure, these buildings would be fine. But the problem right now is that you peek and your gun still is shooting down because you don't have enough room to work with. While in Erangel, you go into a building and you get like proper rooms, you get proper space to move in. You don't have a hallway where it just all feels too tight. And if you have a little bit more room, or they just change the whole thing where you constantly have the problem where you aim down, and I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
These are the words.
But it
of
really
a,
comes
I
down to
agree
that.
with that. I agree with that.
those are the words of a man who uses a Car 98 with a flash hider on the end of it. I mean, that said, though, and you're right. I get the size. I agree that the rooms are tiny. I play sniper usually as well, and like, yeah, if you're. The upside is this, in my opinion, right? Is when you talk about the old days back in Georgia Pole, no one fought apartment to apartment because there was no real accessible way to do that. When you go to like El Pozo or some of those other cities now, there's 4 high-rises, all with 16 access windows and 4th to 5th floors. So you can sort of have these really cool inter-building multi-level fights, but if you're trying to run a Car 98 that's silenced, it becomes tricky to sort of get the angle to take the shot. So I think that that's something that could definitely be addressed. Maybe add some boxes to give access to level 2 and 3 from the outside a little bit faster. Things like that I would love to see, but I think that's definitely on track. So Ryan's bad is maybe think about sort of these vertical fight designs, which, let's be honest, is the first time we've ever seen anything like this. I don't think H1 had vertical fights. So this
not
is,
at all.
This is a totally new...
completely different game in terms of terrain and how everything plays out.
So this is the first time Brendan's sort of done this with his team. I think they're doing a great job of sort of feeling it out. We'll see where that goes. Legit, what's your bad?
My bad is a little less than that, though I agree with it. I think I said some of it. I don't know if the actual layouts are thought competitive-wise. I think we just have to play on them more. My bad, though, is more so like the 4 times. I'm fine with it being small, but it blends in on the desert map. It's got this it's like orange now, this light transparency orange. I'd like to see the thick red come back. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. To take it even a step further, I'd like to see customization. So like,
Yeah.
everyone has the same 4 times, but I can make it whatever color I want. I can make it as transparent as I want. I can make it as pick as I want, because something like that's very easy for them. It's just a matter of them
Yeah.
working it out for us. And then not being able to select our map and our weather type is very frustrating. And so I hope that, PUBG, if you're listening, please don't punish us for backing out of a game. Simply give us the option to choose what maps we want to play. It's not going to kill a certain map. It's just going to favor a map. So more players might play desert, but you're still going to have players playing Erangel. I had a few Erangel games in pubs. They still started with 90 plus players.
Right.
I think I saw some streamers, they had that people back out and it went down to 50.
Yeah.
For me, that's just, I think if you give people the option, you'll then still have those 90 games and you'll have 90 games on desert. So please don't give us that back out
Well,
punishment.
and
I
hey,
know some big
let me
streamers
add
are
to that.
preaching
Let me
for
add
it.
to that, PUBG Inc. and say that when you give the option, you know what? It provides an impetus to improve, because if we start to see everyone
Absolutely.
migrate to desert map, then maybe we make a few more changes like the forest outside of Mansion and tempt us all back to Erangel. And I think that that's something that could be really dynamic and a lot of fun.
That's super interesting. That's a very interesting angle.
Impetus to improve determined by the players and where they choose to play is kind of a really good feedback tool. So if you're listening, very cool. Raptor, what is your bad?
I think I'm gonna have to go with what Legit said, but I personally think with the map thing, it really depends with the map like choice and stuff. I think they need to make it 50-50, I think, when you queue. I think so that you don't you can't choose the map, especially if they want to go in the there's two ways they can do this. Either they go into the direction where you want to have competition on multiple maps, but then they have to make it 50-50, as simple as that. It's fair for everybody. But then, and that's my bad actually, I don't like the map design. It just doesn't feel right. It's graphic wise, it's amazing. They're taking the right direction, but it's just, for me,
It feels like too much, like too big.
yeah,
too,
it's just
too
confusing.
scaled.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Let me pose this to you. And
Personally, I think that's us being afraid of change.
okay,
personally.
that was my question was that.
It is.
Your
It
players,
is.
you guys have like 2,000 hours potentially on Erangel. Like some pros have insane, like 3,000 hours. You have, I mean, you said Define. You've been playing the test servers since they went live, and you've been really trying to get to know them. You've got 150 hours. I've been playing nonstop. I got, I think, 87, right? So is part of our discomfort and anger and whatever else it is, even loot style or layout frustration in Miramar, sort of part of the fact that we have 1/25th of the playtime there? I mean, you remember
Yeah,
when we started with Erangel?
Yeah,
Personally,
I mean,
yeah.
it's 100%
Off,
being
off.
uneasy with it, though, for me. I mean, that's just my bad, like I said off the bat. And like Define was saying, once we play it more and understand those sidelines and things, I think that's going to really change my opinion. Because looting was my first bad thing, and now that I'm used to the buildings, I feel better about it. I just wish that we could do parachutes longer so we could spread the loot out as opposed to
Talking about my
us just-
ugly.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about the dropping down faster?
Yeah.
Not,
I'm pretty sure that's a bug on desert, because in Erangel it's not happening.
We used
no,
to-
it's good now. They fixed it, but I'm
Oh, they
talking
fixed
about like distance on parachuting, like
smart.
kind of wiggling.
The
They-
wiggling, yeah.
Oh, you're talking
Fuck.
about this? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The stretch. I know they fixed
Oh, okay.
the speed and the free looking.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm pretty sure there's a bug where it's shoving you down fast and you can't stretch as
Okay.
far as we used to be able to.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
because
on Erangel it's still okay, but on desert it's 100% bug.
Yep.
okay, because that kind of goes in with my issue with the big buildings, because so many people are dropping. It's hard to maneuver around the city if somebody has one of those big buildings, because
Yeah.
we're all dropping in the same spot. Because loot, it's hard to stretch right now.
I think that's
For
what
sure, yeah.
And I hope you're right. I didn't heard there was a bug. If it is, that's great, because you're right. Erangel, we long dropped easily today, but everybody lands in the same 3 cities right now on Miramar because you just can't long jump. And we don't have any
Yeah.
hard spawns or garages on the cars, so it's all sort of a crapshoot in terms of there's no motor pool. There's no school motor pool, as I like to call it, right, where you can
Right.
guarantee land there and get yourself a vehicle to get the hell out of Dodge.
And I think that's a lot to do with people figuring out
Yeah.
car spawns, because us personally, we still don't even know where the cars are.
Well, if you
spawning.
go look at the map, have you guys looked at the map that was released? I forgot who it was. They made a really good map that has all the car spawns listed on it. But it's like literally every 60 feet or 60 meters there's a potential car spawn on every road.
Okay.
It's just a are you going to get one?
And
there's not, you know how like if you were to look at the potential car spawns at the school Razak sort of intersection, there's just this insane concentration of potential spawns that doesn't really exist anywhere that I know of yet in Miramar if you look at the map. So that's an interesting thing to talk about. My ugly is simple. I don't know why we moved the kill feed. It's driving me bananas, but that's just me personally. Let me set my UI so I can move those two things back to where they were, because I spent so many hours learning to read the kill feed, and now I never know who I'm playing against.
I agree with custom UI. I think being able to drag your kill feed or your team or anything like that, something simple, if they can make it work, which I'm sure they can with Unreal Engine 4, why
It shouldn't
not?
be too hard to program, I think. I
Yeah.
think like if you can have it in like the older games, like the games where it's like it's super
H1
shitty.
hasn't.
Yeah, you can pretty much have it on this game. Like
Absolutely.
My guess is
it's just the UI.
bigger fish to fry, right? So maybe we'll get to that eventually. Excellent. Okay, that said, let's move on to the ugly. What is in the game right now that you think just absolutely needs to be addressed before this can be considered a competitive map viability-wise? We'll start with legit in just a second, and then we'll go to Raptor, and then we'll finish up with Viiral. What do you think, Define? I mean, if there's nothing, you can say nothing. Like if you think, hey, I can play.
So that's like my own personal mentality for Battle Royale is right now is adapt as much as possible. And the ones who adapt as much as possible are going to be the ones who are the most consistent.
I knew I
But
liked
I
it.
am I'm also in the competitive community, so I do understand the competitive players wanting some type of balance, some type of I don't want to take RNG away. I think it's already small enough. We just have to get it out of our head. The worst things for me aren't really the map right now. It's more so the circles. We need more circles. So transitions aren't as hectic and as long for some teams. And I think I could get on board with the last 2 or maybe 3 circles, the very, very last ones, some type of centralization. Not full centralization, where
Right.
that's a circle.
Yes.
I can go dead center and get there every time. But something a little more predictable than what it is, so
Right.
it doesn't favor one team so hard and make it more difficult for everyone else.
So like a guaranteed 150-meter deviation or something like that on, so it's not going to be butting up against the blue. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So your transition is you can kind of transition to things that you can see, like I don't quite see anything that way, and the circle didn't completely move away from me because we have an extra circle or two. I think you might see some more mid-game fights. I think you'll see a little more consistency in teams transitioning into the later circles. But it's so hard to say because until we play with it, it's not like I can't really be like that's the fix.
Right. What were you going to say, Raptor?
I think like I've talked about this with my team as well, and what we think is like it would be nice either earlier circle or later circles that because the problem to add like some sort of border where it cannot touch the blue, so it's like a 10% border and it has to kind of stay in between there, so it can still shift one way or another. But the problem right now in competitive game is like it's not the problem that the circle shifts to another side because you can easily flank around, you can come up with something, you go back into the blue. But the problem is just like out of nothing, suddenly the circle's on the other side, and there's like not one layer of teams around you, there's that second layer, and then you get that third layer that's already in the circle, and you're like, I'm gonna have to go through 3 layers of teams. Like, I can fight one team, I can potentially fight a second team, but you're gonna have to fight 3 teams where one team even has the advantage of being in a circle. There's no way you're gonna win that. There's just no way.
Yeah, for sure, like you said too. And by the time you're on that third team, you're so deprived of meds and loot, like you're just easy targets. But I do like what you said, though. Legit, RNG needs to be removed from our vocabulary. It's really not, hopefully this works out kind of game. There is strategies around everything.
Absolutely.
There was a time, I don't know if you guys play Hearthstone. When Hearthstone first came out, everybody was like, I don't play that game. It's got too much RNG. And then the pros sort of embraced this mentality of, the idea is to limit the RNG, to control it, and to make it part of the strategy. And yes, sometimes shit goes south, but at the end of the day, that means no one's ever overpowered, right? And I think that's something that I'd like to see.
I just chuckle whenever I hear the oh, your game has randomness
Yeah.
and luck in it. It can't be competitive. It's like, do you know about poker? Do you know about
Right.
Texas
Oh.
Hold'em? Do you know about?
Yeah.
I mean, these pros make their living through a marathon. They
Right.
might lose on the river. They might lose on the turn. They might have had the odds in their favor, and they still get unlucky.
Right.
But over that year of them competing, going to events, they're supposed to, you know, make profit.
Mhm.
They're supposed to show some type of consistency.
That's why we
So,
play
and-
series.
Exactly, and
numbers
that's what makes this competitive is our series. You know what I mean? Of course, it's not as competitive jumping into public matches and
Right.
yada yada yada. I get that. When we get MMR, maybe it will be more competitive, but the actual competitive scene where everyone's a tier 1 player, they're all playing the best they can, they're all trying to outmaneuver each other. That best of 8, that best of 12, that's going to show you who your consistent teams are. It's going
Right.
to show you, you know, who's supposed to be there and who's not supposed to be there. And that's, in my mind, the esport in and of itself. So that's one reason I don't agree with, you know, make circles completely centralized. That would make the game completely boring,
So
super
boring.
predictable.
Yeah.
No longer battle royale. It's just, oh, that's the circle we need. Let's go sit in the center and shoot people.
Right.
So
I think one of the
that's
biggest
my
problem,
point.
what the biggest problems with the whole RNG thing, and that this frustrates me, is like the people complain so much about the car meta in Erangel, right? And me and my team, we've been starting to do this in open series first, and then we started doing this against contender teams, and we joined some screens against top teams. And what we figured out is like this whole car meta idea that you have to play it a certain way. It just doesn't make any sense. It is not true.
Yeah.
And I think TSM is the first team that really showed this, because they played different and it didn't work at first. But then they kept on doing their thing and they showed like, okay, you know what, you can come in later circles. And I think one of the problems right now with the competitive scene and blaming the luck constantly is that people are too lazy to start thinking outside the box, to come up with a strategy that just doesn't seem
Exactly.
logical.
Now-
Just like in poker.
Yes, I do want to say this, and I think that lazy is true, but there's also, you got to remember this, we are a new esport. We saw a whole lot of organizations come out of nowhere and get behind a lot of these teams, which is super cool, and there's a good reason for that. It's the only esport in the world where you invest in a team and you're guaranteed to have them in every single match in the tournament, so there's a really good return on investment there. But the other side of the coin is there's an onus for performance, and these teams sometimes, I think, feel the pressure that they have to finish high, they have to perform well, they can't sort of take the TSM risk, right? We saw IM Oakland, especially TSM, doing this sort of like 50 meters outside the blue strategy, sort of working hard rotations. It worked sometimes, it didn't in the other, but they went in with the idea of TSM's got our back, we can try what we want to try, we're going to see how effective it is, and it ended up working out a couple of times and showed us a new potential meta. So I do think lazy, yes, but I think maybe a little unfair to always say that, because a lot of these players have a big pressure in terms of keeping the ability to play professionally on the line, and sometimes meta shifters have to have the freedom to lose, and that's a tough thing. That's all. I just wanted to soapbox for a second, but
100%. No, I agree.
But I think that you're right. I mean, we watched Korea. If you guys, all of us were playing, so we didn't really get to watch the tournament going on at the same time as Oakland. But the Korean players don't even really use cars, right? They like third person. They like to stay on foot. They choose not to do that. I was chatting with some of the designers after Oakland, and they asked me what my favorite car is, and I said the 3-seater bike, because I love the idea of having to decide. Well, I like that when you look at it, you go, do I really want to take that right now? And Miramar feels that way, right? Like you see the Bronco, and you're like, do I really want to drive the Bronco down the street in this section? Or is the Bang Bus worth trying to take across the desert? And to me, that's really nice. I love that, man, because it makes us think, I spend a lot more time on foot in Miramar, and that I don't know, it adds a new strategy level to me. There's a lot of running fights. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah.
So then, go ahead.
In my mind, us personally, Ghost, we don't believe in meta. This game is, you have countless numbers of variables constantly changing. This game is the most fluid esports game there is. If you can't be willing to change on the drop of a dime and be successful, it it changing your route, changing your position, changing your decision, everyone still being on the same page and flowing like water, I
Yeah.
just don't think you're gonna succeed.
And that's every
it's-
game too. Is a change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True.
Eh.
I just it's
When I talk
every
about
game
meta, I
every
mean,
game requires something so different
Right.
in order
I'm
to
more
win.
like I'm more like playstyle that I mean, like, you know, for example, for us it's like when what we have tried with the whole meta shifting, because we're like experimenting with it, also because we're in a situation where we can do that. So like we don't have an orc that we can lose suddenly because we lose something, we don't have anything, but we're like, okay, you know what, let's try to just do everything on by foot on Erangel, and let's see how that works. Let's see how it works to just like be in the middle of nowhere and just run in a, like you literally have teams all around you, and how is it going to turn out if we just run in the middle? Is that going to work? And that's what we mean with meta, is like just a play style, you know, like are you going to be aggressive, or are you going to be passive? Just, you know, and
Right.
mostly right now with the current meta is like, okay, you take the fights. In Erangel it was like, okay, you show where you are kind of, so people stay away from you.
Yeah.
For most teams, of course, there were
true.
exceptions, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you
It's
find
just a general play style.
Do you find yourself not taking the shot as often in Miramar as you used to in Erangel?
150%. 100%.
I don't agree.
Well,
For
that's
us,
because it's like
just-
Define's crazy when he has a gun in his hands, but
Well, like
It's just
if
variable.
there's so much open room, and the running portion of it, like if we're not shooting, we're not giving away our spot. If we can get a down and finish that kill, great. If we can get a headshot and take off a piece of armor, great. But if they're 600 meters out and we have M16s, I'm not trying to hit ankles to give away my position.
I feel that.
Yeah.
For us though, that's just like that's a variable. So it's not so much are we going to shoot at them, it's how much cover do we have? Are we willing to give our position away? Let's shoot at them or not. So it's, for me, it's always hard to say. People are like, oh, what do you need to do to get better? What do you got to do to win? You have to understand the variables that are constantly changing, and you have to be able to predict at a very high level. And
Risk
if you-
management.
risk management, risk versus reward. It's more so that stuff. So I definitely agree with what Ryan is saying. It's just the way I would describe it's a little different.
and what were
The
you?
problem about Miramar is that when you see a team, like the difference between Erangel is like you see a team, you can take that fight. You have a compound, you have some cover, you have ways to escape. Now Miramar, the big problem is you can have a really nice position, but like I don't really feel like there's any nice positions in Miramar. Everything has a disadvantage somewhere.
Yep. I
The
agree with that.
problem about Miramar,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
feel, because there's so much vision from all sides to all teams for you, but also for somebody else to spot you, is that the moment you take a fight with a team, if you don't clean it up fast enough, another team can flank you within seconds, and you're dead.
100%.
It's done, and that's the thing that bothers me the most about Miramar, is that I feel like sometimes the ridges and the little bumps are not high enough, that you just don't have that protection from that
Think
second
it
team.
prolongs fights too long.
Yes.
I think it, yeah. Right now, the fights have to happen fast, or you need at least more cover, so that if another team flanks you, that you can take two fights at the same time. Because right now, it's like you need to be lucky not to have that second team, or even that third team, to be like, hey, we're gonna shoot these guys down. We see some shots.
But the
For me
bumps are good for
personally,
you to
I feel like-
push.
Right.
Yeah, true. I feel like in Erangel though, it's the same thing. It's you have moments, you have variables and situations where you need to wipe this team quickly. And if you don't wipe them quickly,
yeah.
you understand you're about to get third partied.
I think
So
I
in
think
Miramar,
I think the big
Same
issue
thing.
here is you guys are both right. To me, Miramar, because of the distance is hard to judge because of the gradients difference, right? Like we're not flat ground sniping anymore. We're doing these weird up-down angles that make sniping.
Yeah.
A 200-meter shot is no longer a simple 200-meter shot in a lot of ways. Second, you
Right.
can head somebody and then they just disappear behind a berm, heal, and res. Unlike Erangel, where you could wait for a team to transition between a section and you could guarantee catch two of them during the transition. So that's where I think
Yeah.
that what Raptor's saying is very legitimate, because fights are longer now. And because of the fact that, like you said, Ryan, everyone can use berms for cover, like the flank potential is insane. In the old Erangel, you could assign one guy to watch your back and say cover the north angle, and he would just sort of peek around a rock and be able to see everything. Now you got to have 3 guys covering your back in order to really know who's approaching. So I think that's but that to me is just a meta shift waiting to happen for us to sort of figure out what's the differential here. Like, how do we fix this in terms of that? So, and I think
That's why it's fun.
You say meta shift, I say different decisions are now
Right.
going to need to be made.
right.
Yeah.
So I guess when I say meta, I usually think of just the way that people approach decision making in the game or the process to win.
For sure.
You know. So that said, though, it's been pretty interesting. Who hasn't had a chance to talk about the ugly yet? I don't remember who we've gone through.
I think Raptor's up.
I think
I'll
Raptor.
make it very simple, and I like as much as I dislike Miramar.
Marengo.
It's like like in the end, you know, we just gotta adapt. That's what it is. No matter what we get to us, like as a pro, you have to adapt no matter what they throw at you. Because look at CS, suddenly you get a revolver that one taps everybody. Just gotta adapt. But
That's true.
I mean, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, in a way. But
Their
the most
adapting
annoying
is on a
thing to
much
me-
smaller scale, but
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, it's the vehicles. It slides. Everything slides. Like you stop and you slide another 200 meters.
Yeah.
You hit one, like even with the UAZ on Erangel or
Right.
the pickup truck on Miramar, it's like you hit one bump and you make 10 backflips and you still land it though for some bizarre reason. The bang bus, it flips, but it always unflips for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like a million meters. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. It's like,
Right.
just let my car stop like it used to be. Like,
Yeah.
My favorite
that's the
thing.
point of a car.
My favorite thing is when you fast stop to get in a fight, and then you finish the fight and turn around, your car is like 200 meters away because it just rolled off on its own.
Kept rolling.
Yeah.
Every single fight.
Oh, you stop the bus, you're like, we're gonna jump out behind the bus for cover, and the bus just keeps on going. So now your team's like running and gunning, and it's just it cracks me up. But I totally get that. We're like, you're just like, oh, now God, our thing's in the blue, 200 meters. I guess we're walking. Thanks for that. So I get that. I do love that you can now shoot out a back tire and the car just rolls away from a fight. So like you can take cover out by just popping a tire. That sort of also cracks me up because it's not like the old days in Aragon where you could park cars right and just sort of blow them up or take out the tires. And now you have a safe fortress. I can pop your back tire and it rolls off downhill and we're in good shape. So that's interesting to me. Okay, so that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Do you think Miramar? This is live. We start doing playtests. Ozm has a Euro playtest on Miramar coming up this week. GLL did some scrims. Season 2 of Ozm is just around the corner. A couple of other leagues are getting started. Is Miramar ready to be in that rotation? And how do we put it in? Do we do the 50-50 and just play whatever pops up? Do we play every other map? Do we not touch one or the other? What do you guys think?
Well, I
50-50
think
for competitive.
yeah, definitely that. But for my ugly is gonna go in with this
I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't think it's ready only because I've gotten a fight today, got a knock, went to vault over a little 4-foot wall, and my game crashes. Okay, so the crashes randomly. I'm still experiencing maybe 3 crashes a day, and then also if you go on some of the rocks, there's like V's that are slanted that you get stuck in, and it creates a never-ending fall animation, and then you're knocked out.
Yeah, I have fallen into some of those.
Yeah, and there's so many around the terrain. So it's a very easy fix, but without crashes and the endless falling going forward, it's not I don't want it to be a competitive map because I don't want to win because somebody dies off of that. I want to win because we're fighting. But as for 50-50, I think like usually tournaments are 2 days, like PUBG Online or Ozm, or PUBG Online is Monday, Wednesday. Monday is Erangel, Miramar, Erangel, and on Wednesday, Miramar, Erangel, Miramar. Just 50-50 when it becomes ready.
So you think you guys should know
I'm down for that.
what the rotation is going to be, not actually let it randomize?
Yes,
Okay.
we should know.
Yeah,
we should
I
know.
mean-
I don't think we need it randomized.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 2 maps. It's not that hard.
And now let me follow up on your ugly, which is the like infinite death holes and some other stuff that I've definitely seen. Those.
I've only found one, but I know
there's one over by water treatment that's a nightmare that you can slide into very easily. I think I lost an entire squad in that freaking hole. That said,
Yeah.
those existed on Erangel and still do and have for a long time in terms of like
yeah.
things that blow your car up for no reason, things of
Oh,
and
yeah.
over the course of the game we learned them. And that's why I'll talk to casual players and they'll say, I don't know how this is esports ready because, you know, I drive a car and hits a spot and flips over for no reason.
Adapt, bitch.
Right, well, and I say, well, you got to understand, the pros have 3,000 hours on these maps, and they know where not to take the car. They know you don't drive a Dacia across Pachinki Fields and expect to not flip over, you know, things of that nature. That said, is that the solution? I mean, hopefully they fix the bugs, but how long do you think it takes to the point where we as...
That's the short solution.
Fair, okay.
I'm not asking.
Adapt is the short solution. We need it fixed, but until then, like,
Yeah.
We'll
we're
avoid the
pros,
whole-
do what we got to do. Yeah.
And here's the other thing too, like, you know, so I don't consider myself a pro. I'm a dedicated amateur in my own words, but I only have 800 hours, right? So I do have that's plenty of time to know Erangel, you know, and I'm still finding spots where I'll try to crash a building and my car will get stuck in something and blow up. You know, so it's still a learning phase, and there's still weird angles in a game that are always gonna, you know, without a better word, fuck you over. But it's just about taking the L's and realizing that, you know, hey, don't go in at that angle again, like he was saying, adapt, you know. But we would like them fixed.
Absolutely. Okay.
Got to be fixed.
Adapt. In the words of as CJ puts it, DefineLegit 2017. Because adapt, bitch, until it's fixed, and then we'll all be happy. So
we'll all be happy.
just deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe not right away to comp play, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be unavoidable. Like, you know, they want to show off everything the game has to offer. Miramar
I
is
gotta
absolutely
throw
gorgeous.
this in.
Please.
I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No.
Ghost wants it immediately in comp play.
The
Really?
Yes,
why?
we want
Okay.
it immediately.
And why do you want it immediately?
I-
Does it fit your style? You like the differential?
No, it doesn't fit our style, honestly. It actually goes against a lot of our natural transitions and gameplay and how confident we feel. But personally, it's a better competitive map. And that's really hard to see right now for a lot of people. And I could even be wrong. Maybe it's not a
No, I
better competitive
I agree.
map.
No,
and
I
maybe
agree.
Maybe in hindsight, I look back and I'm wrong, but I really think, like, as much as I've broken it down, it's a lot better. Like today, just for example, we had to transition into the circle, and it looked like there was nothing, literally nothing. And because of the way that everything's elevated and all the landscape just rolls, and there's these crazy areas where you can get to, we pulled up on the road. And being on the road with two trucks in the middle of the road creating cover was a perfect spot. And you would have never been able to see it. You would have never been able to make it on Erangel other than a few spots. There's a few other times where, like, we've been able to do some weird spot like that. But I feel like Miramar has more of those weird spots. They have more of those niches, more of those. Even though the circle's small and there's 40 up, and it seems like no matter what we do when we drive, we're going to get shot, I promise there's a way to drive and not get shot, and we have to find that way. And I think there's more ways to find on Miramar than there is right now in Erangel. I also
go ahead,
think
Ryan.
Erangel needs a complete reboot. It needs to be completely... more things need to be added, but the terrain and stuff needs to differ a little bit. We need to see some more rolling hills, some of that dead space needs to be changed. Maybe not with thick forest, but with
well, I think
something.
just to touch on that, and we'll go to Ryan. I think a good example is we all know Gatka Fields is sort of just wide open, right? If you get stuck at the yellow houses by the trenches and you've got to cross to Gatka or the uphill, you're screwed. There's a couple of bushes to try to hide in. That said, those yellow houses, if you go outside the yellow house, they've got some of the best landscape, I think, in all of Erangel. Those like little hills with the defilades and stuff just outside the yellow house grouping. Like
right across the road.
Right. If Gatka Fields got more of that, then all of a sudden Gatka Fields becomes a really fun place to fight. So I think that it's easy to fix. Or I don't want to say easy because I'm not a programmer, but it's a potential fix that they've shown us they're interested in doing with the changes they made over by sort of the mansion fields and stuff. They said, we're looking at ways to make this better. So I'm excited about that in the future now that Miramar is up and running. Ryan, what were you going to say before I so rudely jumped in there?
No, you're good. So in Global Loot League today, for the scrims, I think you played in it, right, Legit?
Yes, we played. We just played the Miramar games.
Right. So did we. So Trifecta got absolutely circle gifted
Yeah, I
for the
saw
last
that.
for the
We've
last
actually
2 games.
we pulled it. That was the game I was giving an example of.
Okay.
We pulled up on the road, and um I tried to reposition a car and got knocked out by them, but because they got gifted so much and they were just shooting at everybody, even though that was the case for them and it seemed like no one could do anything, even we were still able to pull up and make something happen because of the way that
Right.
the terrain has so many different elevations and so many different levels to it.
Well, and that's the thing. So even though they were circle blessed, there was never one time that I felt that there was not a good approach to their center because of how Miramar is designed. So it is going to bolster a better competitive view. And while we're on that subject with them getting circle bliss, just a quick shout out to Swisher. Hey, catch me on that K98, peek me again. But other than that,
I mean, I get what you're saying. There's no final circle on the Alamo, right? There's no final circle on Heaven where it's just how the fuck do you push into this right now in this particular map. That said, Raptor, I think that you have very different feelings about this map. So let's go to you on this.
Completely disagree. The thing is like this, unlike Define, our playstyle in Erangel right now completely would fit this new map because it's so like you can do so much more by foot as well. It's so much more like, you know, micromanaging your position constantly on the map. You know, next ridge, oh, there's a better ridge, we can do that, we can push this team for that. It would fit our playstyle way better. But the thing is like this, I think Miramar has too much room for creativity, to be honest. It has a lot of room for creativity. There's so much.
Interesting.
And I personally rather have a fixed approach. Like CSGO, for example, is a game where everything is super fixed. You got 3 lanes, you go lane 1, A, B, or C, pretty much, and that's what you do. You work with that. And I personally think having a certain limit to your amount of approaches also creates certain stability in your tactics and stuff. And I personally feel like it is better for me because I'm an in-game leader. It is way easier to work with and to come up with ideas when there's not just like a whole bunch of things. And next to that, I think Miramar I just still think it's too open. I just think there's too many flank options for too many teams to get in a fight at the same time. Like, we're a team that really likes to flank, and we have, like, in the last matches that we played against the better teams, we just literally circle one, we would flank people. And in this map, it's just like, I see ways, but it's just like, for me, it just doesn't feel right. The feel is just not my thing. I like Erangel.
I'm not a pro. I do spend a lot of hours playing, and I watch the shit out of this game. And the one thing that I think that I've come away with playing both these maps is that it feels to me like Erangel was about control positions or areas of control, getting a house, locking in the 100 meters around it, keeping your approach vectors under control, but sort of locking in that area. Miramar feels more like approach vectoring. Like, you need to know where the circle's coming from. You need to control everything from the edge of the circle to where you want to go and make sure that no one's going to pop up behind you. So it seems like it's sort of a different methodology, right? So like, if you want to try to sneak flank and somebody gets behind you, you're all of a sudden screwed, instead of saying using the lines to control exactly who's around you at all times. Which, to me, I like Miramar because I believe firmly that what we're going to start to see is, after the third circle, running fights earlier in matches because people want to control their vector. They're going to say, it's worth taking this fight now to make sure that these guys aren't behind me 6 minutes from now. Whereas in Erangel, you could maybe not take the fight or choose to drive past and get yourself a different area of control instead of an approach vector or a zone of control, if that makes sense. So to me, that's right.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's interesting. I don't know where we're going with it for sure, but I think that what we're going to see with Miramar, and that's why I'm excited about what you guys said. Like, I want to see games go every other, because it's going to be two very different mentalities of play back to back in terms of how these maps are approached.
100%.
So that's my 2 cents on the developing strategy, but I've tried both ways. I feel bad because when I play, I always pub because I like to just see as many strategies as I can, you know. This week, though, I've been dragging my pubs with me and making them follow whatever I say, and I feel bad for some of them because I'm like, all right, we're going to try an Erangel strat this time. We're going to do zones of, you know, areas of control, and we're going to rush buildings and try to hold them, and every single time we get absolutely obliterated trying to do that. But when I say, hey, we're just going to play the edge and work vectors and take fights early, it seems like you get to that final 3 teams more consistently with a comfortable back, and that makes, to me, I think we're going to see the TSM strategy sort of thrive in a Miramar style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Playing edge will thrive
Mhm.
if you can
Yeah.
do it successfully.
So that's gonna be interesting, but it's hard because Miramar is so fucking huge. A circle may only require 300 meters of travel, but with the up down, it ends up being a 600-meter trek that nobody's prepared for, and that's, I think, also part of brings me to my next question and my last major question is, and this is legit because I'm starting to wonder if it's true. Is there enough space on this map for every team to jump away from every other team? In Erangel,
100%.
everyone went their own way. Do you think
Yeah.
they can do that this time?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
So you two
Yeah,
say
make the
yes.
They can make the map smaller, and we'd still find our ways away from each other.
Yeah.
The small compounds, you are so bad in loot. If they would increase the loot, then yes. But right now, like, I've been testing this today because when I'm grinding for leaderboards and stuff, I like to go to the smaller compounds. I've tried to find so many small compounds. I ended up with like 4 houses, and I'm like, yeah, I have a backpack now and a pistol, and it's so bad. So I have to. There's a lot of big cities, which is cool, but you know, in Erangel, so what the thing is, like, you have the big cities, big teams take big cities, but you also have the small compounds. The small compounds get rewarded. In Miramar, the small compounds just, in my opinion, just do not get rewarded at all. They're
I
just
think
not
that's part of the adaptation though. Like today in scrims, I dropped little, went towards like a church area. All I had was a can't even think of it, the 45 auto submachine gun, Tommy gun. All I had was a Tommy gun, and I just went up against a guy with a rifle, and I mean, I just won my gunfight. You know, he decided to drop into a higher loot concentration that was contested. I didn't, so I got punished for that. And I think it should be like that. It shouldn't be like you drop into 4 houses, I have a 4 times and an M16. It should be I have a backpack, a pistol. Let's see what I can make happen. If I want to be safe, punish me for it. If I want to be aggressive, reward me.
I actually like that perspective, honestly. I think the loot would still need to be a little more buffed. I think you need a little more than a pistol. Maybe you come out with an SMG or something, but
Right, fair enough.
that's an interesting perspective. In my mind, and I guess this will be my last 2 cents, anything that's related to Battle Royale, anything you can add that's going to increase the layer of depth of decision making is a good thing in my mind. And I think in Miramar, this map completely changes the depth of decision making because you can be flanked in so many different ways. You can't, you know, it's gonna be less let me control this zone and more let me control my literal 30-40 meters. And when that close gunfight comes up, we're gonna have the advantage based on, you know, whatever way you're peeking or whatever way you're watching or whatever it is. I think the depth in competitive will be a lot more noticeable when it comes to end game fights and mid game fights and just fights in general.
Now, I will say this. I think that mentality fits your love of poker and the idea of like a chip in a chair and your willingness to fight out of nothing. That said,
Absolutely.
I do believe that right now most of our experience here is dropping in pubs. If we start to see a lot of competitive tournaments do 1.5 AR, things like that.
Yeah.
I think that the small town drops may become more functionally survivable. Like, let's talk about Crater, right? You got that military Crater, pretty decent area for maybe a duo. You increase the AR spawn to 1.5 and the submachine gun to 1.5, and all of a sudden, everyone walks out of there with at least with 3 ARs, a sniper, and a couple of submachine guns. Gives you a few more spots to jump. So you get both craters, now you have a full loot loadout. So I think that once we get some more scrim time with like what the right AR balance is, then we could technically spread this better for competitive play. But right now, in pub play, there's nowhere that I can land that doesn't guarantee I'm going to be fighting somebody within 2 to 3 minutes, which as a strategic, methodical player, I freaking hate because I want to control every fight from the start. But as a battle royale lover, I think it's, you know, it's great. In Erangel, I never fight with shotguns because I'm never forced to. Here, that definitely happens sometimes. I think that's pretty cool.
I think the parachute fix will make us be able to spread more.
Those are my creators. CJ, I will find you and I will end you there because that's what I do. That said, and that does bring me to my lightning round. This is a question you've been playing for a while. A lot of our players are complaining about loot. Everything's so confusing. There's doors everywhere. I can't stop opening doors and there's nothing inside of the room. Suck it up and learn which buildings to loot, because I'll tell you what, I don't have to deal with doors very often if you know where you're going. That said, gentlemen, what is your favorite building to loot on this map?
Church.
Any
Big ass church.
Ryan likes big churches.
big ass church?
Okay.
I like any warehouse. I've always
Warehouse.
been a fan of any big warehouse or big apartment.
Do you like the big
Yeah,
warehouse
yeah, man.
barn or the one that you can climb up the boxes to the second level?
Both, actually.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
Raptor, what's your favorite
The
building?
second level is interesting.
The arena, man. The arena
That's
is
good.
like everything I hate about the map. Like that combines in there. Like no, that just goes away with the arena. Once I enter the arena, I just see like 10 ARs. I see 10 first aids. Like it is monstrous when it comes down to loot. If there's one place you want to loot, it's like small power plant, multi power plant times 3 in one building. It's genius. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. You guys should know about this building, and if you don't, I'm gonna blow your goddamn minds. My favorite building in the entire game is, you know, those blown out cement structures that has the 2-story with the roof access and the no roof right across from
Yes.
it with the pillars. If you can hit 2 of them in any drop, you walk away with an AR and a sniper rifle almost every single time. So, to those of you, if you guys don't know, you heard of Wacky Jackie, I'm sure. He has a YouTube video about those specifically that I wrote him a scathing response on Twitter and said, stop telling people about these things because they're incredibly powerful. So, check those out for those of you who are listening, because I think those are probably the best buildings in the game because they're fast to loot, there's no doors to open, and you walk out with guns almost every single time.
Turtle Squad drop spot.
Turtle Squad drops. That's the Los Leones. What is it? Never eat shredded. The Los Leones Western loot route is the single best loot route in the game because of that. It's like 8 of those buildings and 3 warehouses, all one after another. So that's what I'm saying though. When you complain about loot, stop and reconsider what you're doing. If you're going into a 5-story apartment building with 35 doors, it's probably not the best use of your time if you can instead hit a few of these warehouses on the opposite side instead. Think outside the box. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like the guard towers and stuff, they don't have loot in the middle of the floor like Erangel does. They have energy drinks sitting on the foreman's desk. They have things sitting on dining room tables. Like the loot was clearly designed to be more organic and less on the floor than I think Erangel was. So think outside the box and get ready for that. Do I have my own names for cities? I do, but I'm trying to memorize them just Talia the correct way because many of my names are probably disrespectful to the map, or I pronounce things badly, so I'm trying to learn them all the right way.
Yeah. We call Picado Sandusky.
Oh, because it's Ohio. Ohio sucks.
No, because somebody called it pedo, and then I was like Sandusky.
There you
so
go.
that's our new call.
There you go. Kuma Sarah has been mispronounced a few times. We won't go into that. So anyway, a lot of these things I think are gonna get some nicknames that will probably it'll be like Erangel, right? Remember in the old days when we had weird, funny names for everything? Like I think I used to call like Ferry Pier Fishtown, and then all of a sudden they put the names on the map, and they were like, "Stop calling it! Like we're putting the names here, so you guys stop with these weird names." So we'll probably go down that road at some point.
Still Fishtown.
So it is Fishtown.
Forever.
It'll always be Fishtown. I love Fishtown. Fishtown.
Yep.
I miss the days of bridge camping. Those were the good old days, man. Now you guys all bridge camp off to the side with accurate shots. There was a time when we would just sit on the bridge with AKs and go to war like men. No longer. All right, guys. That is about all the time that we have. We got some fun stuff coming for you guys over the next few weeks. We are in the winter lull, which means we don't have a lot of events and tons of tournaments to go to. I apologize. The show's been off the air for the last couple of months. Fortunately for me, maybe not for you guys who download the podcast, I've been very busy traveling to events and things like that. So I'm not going to say I'm mad that the podcast hasn't been on, but I will say that I'm sorry that it hasn't been on as often over the last few weeks. Gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. Before we sign off, I do want to give you a chance to do any shout-outs, call-outs, smack-talking, or soapboxing that seems to appeal to your sensibilities. If you want to speak directly to the competitive scene or organizers or any of that stuff, get it off your chest right now, or just say thank you and tell us your Twitter handle. We'll start with Ryan and work our way around back to Raptor.
Trash talk's okay for a quick one?
Yeah, man, whatever you want.
Hey, Swisher, get out of open before you judge me. Second, hey, I want to shout out to Turtle Squad, and really appreciate it. We've been going strong, and all my friends supporting in here. CJ Riser, Family Fee. Thanks, guys, and thank you so much for letting me be on here, Toffee.
No problem. This is not the Swisher Sweet. It is not a little bit of Swisher Heat coming out of Ryan. Define. Well, I had to get a pun in there. It's my life. Define. What do you got for me?
Honestly, man, just thank you so much for letting me come on. This was fun. I love talking, so this was interesting. I don't really have any shout-outs, man. Go follow me on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah, it's at DefineLegit. So for those of you who are listening on the podcast and not watching, you can get Viiral, who hates Swisher, at Ryan Flax. And you can get DefineLegit, who plays for Ghost and has a sexy man bun, at DefineLegit. Easy peasy. Let's roll over to RaptorDaRaptor for our closes.
Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it. Shout out to Tiger Mafia. I don't like to trash talk, but it feels really good to have teammates that actually finally trust me.
Nice. You know, he doesn't like to trash talk, yet he released the meme with beating the shit out of Method coming out of a bush the other day. So
What? No, that was just random teams. I promise.
Method happened to be the first one that got pwned out of the bush. No, yeah, that was totally accidental.
I know nothing.
All right, you can find him at RaptorDaRaptor, not the Raptor, because he's edgy like that. So it's a DA between the two Raptors. If you want to find him over on the Twitter, you can find me at Toffees TV. Yep, it's the sweetest handle on Twitter because it's the sweetest account to follow. I promise you'll enjoy it as much as you would enjoy the candy. A big shout out to the folks who have helped make this possible. Aces for the rake, Awesome for the overlays. If you guys want to help support the show, I will say this: the show will only last as long as I can afford to keep making it. So if you want to help me with the hosting, you can go to patreon.com/Toffees and donate $1, $5, $10, whatever you see fit. And I do have cool rewards. So there's some car decals, bumper stickers, mugs, t-shirts, really whatever you want to put the drop on, you can. And I think that we all know that the key to winning this game is to get the drop on someone. So pay a couple of bucks, get the drop yourself, and send it to your friends. Also, if you don't want to pay and help support us monetarily, you can always just review the show on iTunes or somewhere else so other people can find it and enjoy it as well. That said, I hope you guys had a wonderful evening hanging out with us. I had a great time hanging out with you. And we'll be back. I'm going to try to get another group together next week. Gentlemen, I may reach out to you again because I've had a great time chatting, and we'll shoot the shit a little bit more. Maybe talk about how pubs can survive in Miramar, because we've heard how the pros are struggling a little bit with fighting each other. But let's be real, most of us just have to fight other idiots that are just as bad as we are. So let's talk about how to win that match next time. That said, have a wonderful night, play more PUBG, and as always, Toffees out.